Welcome to Strange Mysterious World, Season 4, Episode 23. Tonight's guest, Kevin B. Turner. He is an author of actually two books that you can find on Amazon Books. And he's also the director for the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. The one book is called The Sky Shamans of Mongolia, Meetings with Remarkable Healers. And the book that obviously we've read is The Secret Five Alchemy, Kriya Yoga, Kundalini, and Shamanism. So really looking forward to...
fantastic book. Yeah. Probably one of the best books I've read in a long time.
Yeah.
In a long time. It was, I mean, his journey through what he went through, of all of his spiritual awakenings, his dream initiations, his Kundalini experiences. I mean, it's quite a trip. And he writes it with such humility and such a humble guy. And
for you guys, for the people really that are actually searching, this is a book to read. I promise you this. Like I struggle reading. I struggle reading people's biographies and stuff because I find it so boring. But the stuff that he goes through and the things that he talks about is it's like on our page. It's awesome. So
such a wealth of knowledge.
It's so cool. But anyway, let's bring him on. Yeah. How's it going, Kevin?
Yeah, well, all right, William and Lee, I've got you straight now.
Awesome, yeah. I've managed to finish your book on Sunday. Wow, what a travel, man. Jeez, you've done obviously. Look, in the first 10 years, that first 10 years that you were traveling, jeez, you did a lot, man. You did so much all over Asia. That was absolutely awesome. Something really enjoyed your book. I must say, when I read biographies and stuff, I kind of get put off in the first sort of halfway through the book of people because it kind of bores me. But yours was really cool. I must say, yours I really enjoyed. Okay.
And also, Kevin, as inspiring as it was, it's also made me get a bit like melancholy because I keep on thinking like me and Lee are on the path, and I sometimes have like these tiny little experiences, never as profound as yours, and I think, okay, well maybe I will get off the reincarnation trap this lifetime. But then reading your book and what you've gone through and everything, I just feel like we're such children. Me and Lee probably never have a chance. Like we've got such a long way to go. Like what you've gone through, and you haven't been. Or I don't know, maybe you are enlightened. But
it's best not to compare.
Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah, it just the only reason I had a lot to write was because I made so many mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you notice through the book, most of my initiations I failed.
Yes, and also, I mean, how humble you were to actually point them out, because I mean, also because I've had like some, well, I thought were like teachers or something that gave me such a hard time, and then I would blame it on them being like very like mean, or and not blaming it on myself. But just saw in your book you were so humble that you every single time you would say it's the teaching. It's not them being like a horrible person or whatever, and you were able to actually to take it on yourself and say it was the learning process, which I was.
Well, that's really only because I wrote the memoir decades later. At the time, it didn't feel nice at all.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, I'm still going through stuff where I'm like thinking, no, that teacher is like, I'm so upset with the one teacher,
Are we already starting, or?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we started recording, and
look, obviously we edit as we go towards the end. So whatever.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought we were just chatting to get the sound right.
No. So we just go. This is how our podcasts go. We just talk.
And also,
I see.
We had a bit of technical difficulties in the beginning, so we're gonna do the intro. Lee usually just introduces you and your book, and then we bring you on. So we'll do that at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But now, just a quick one. Obviously, what kind of got me when I was reading the book of yours, what got me was you were going through these phases, obviously at each, whether it was in India or Japan or whatever, and you were learning specific things, but you always doubt. There was always like that doubt in you of like, is this the right thing, or is? But what I found quite fascinating is you kept having these callings, like go here, go there, go there. And I think very few people actually have the guts to go with the gut, where the gut says do this. A lot of people don't have that. So they just think, oh no, it's you know, let's call them people that are asleep. Maybe they don't have it. But
you
also,
see, I'm a very slow learner, so I require tenacity.
But that's pretty good, though. I mean, for that age, I think you were 21. I think when you were going, your early 20s.
Started at 21. Yeah, it's 15-year period from 21 to 36.
Yeah, and I mean, for that age to kind of be following your gut that's advanced. That's very advanced. Most 21s won't do that.
I was often dragged.
Yeah.
As it is often said, let go or be dragged. And I was dragged often. So there was a lot of resistance in me.
Yeah, I could see that because you got chased out of a couple of places as well. So you were not ready.
But then again, you said you were not ready, but you had like, a few Kundalini experiences. I mean, you got initiated into Kriya Yoga. So in a way, you seemed very ready, but much more ready than like most of the population of the world. But at the same time, you weren't ready.
Well, we have to look at the long range trajectory of the soul. So obviously, people who come in and have initiatory experiences at a young age, they've been working on these projects for a long time. So the book actually covers a 400-year period. I don't know if you got that on the first read. Most people need to read it 2 or 3 times in order to get the full continuity of what's happening. So we're not starting at different places, but the middle world personality is always resisting. You can call it the lower personality. I use shamanic terms. The middle world personality doesn't want to die. The middle world personality wants to live on. That's the personality that is around the body, around your personal history, where you were born, where you were raised, your language, your culture, your family. So the saints and sages are saints and sages only because they know they're not real.
Oh, okay. So, also, I know
they are a masquerade. They are in the matrix. The personality they're inhabiting in the matrix, they know isn't real. Most of us don't know it's not real. So that is the process of awakening. But in terms of alchemy, it is actually a psychophysiological process. So Jung missed the boat when he tried to psychologize alchemy. Yes, you could do that, but I think he actually projected psychology or psychological aspects onto alchemy. The real spiritual alchemy is the psychophysiological changes that are going on in the body as the Kundalini cooks you, as the Kundalini, in a sense, cooks the soul into awakening. Okay. And it can be a pretty painful process to have you be stripped away. It is a constant dissolution and coagulation. Yeah. It is a constant dying and being reborn. That's the shamanic path. So alchemy originally came from shamanism. I mean, if we trace all spiritual lineages and paths, they all go back to shamanism. And I discussed this at length in my other book, Sky Shamans of Mongolia, where Tibetan Buddhism mostly goes back to Mongolian shamanism. The whole reborn Rinpoche system, the tulkus, the reborn lamas, this all goes back to Mongolian shamans. But they don't like to talk about that.
Yes, well,
but the term Dalai Lama, Dalai is actually a Mongolian term. It means ocean.
Okay, I didn't know that. I was just there was one of the questions that I had originally asked you, even reading the book, you were very lucky in the beginning because you were able to astral project. right from a young age, and that's something that William and I, we've tried. There's so many different things on how to get it right and what not to eat, and it's never been. I mean, I got it right once. This is probably going back about 12 years ago, one time. I could never replicate it. I know there's something else out there because of that, but the astral projection side of this is difficult. So difficult.
Most people don't understand what out-of-body experiences are. Most people don't understand what shamanic journeys are either, or astral projection. I worked with the Monroe Institute for 20 years as well, before being initiated into shamanism and into alchemical processes and Kriya Yoga. It all depends on who you think you are. If you know you're the soul, then astral projection is your natural state of being. The soul was never limited to the body. The soul was never limited in consciousness. Consciousness was never limited to the body. We just get obsessed around the body. And we have a contracted state of consciousness around the body. And unfortunately, everything in our material lives tells us you are nothing but the body. And so this is the Ahrimanic Forces. These are the forces that want us to forget that we are immortal soul, to actually hold our consciousness down to the physical body, hold our consciousness down to machines, hold our consciousness in the matrix, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so it is more a state of remembering. So rather than stressing and straining and trying to have out-of-body experiences, realize that the out-of-body state is your natural state. That the in-the-body state is actually takes some effort to contract. It actually takes some effort to convince the soul that it's just this monkey dragging, this monkey that's dragging its knuckles around. And it takes some effort to contract ourselves that much. So it is soul remembrance. So once that memory happens, and that can happen through shamanic journeying very easily. We journey to the upper world, we journey to the lower world, we get out of the middle world, we get out of the matrix, and you can start to remember who you are. So as we go back further and further, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Okay, am I this life? Am I this body? Am I other lives? Am I a group of incarnations? Am I a deity? Am I God? Am I the universe? We keep going back until we eventually go even beyond any form of identification. Then we move into what the Tibetans call the all-pervading awareness.
Okay. All right, and then something that I kind of got a little bit sidetracked, I must say, when I was reading. When you got to Kriya Yoga, because now all of a sudden, the way you were explaining it and the way that came across, I thought, okay, this is something I need to do. I have to find someone that can do this, because and I know William as well. He's one of these guys that has tried everything under the sun. Nothing's ever worked for him. But this was something I promise you, I went and had a look to see who in my area can actually do Kriya Yoga, and there is no one. So I was like so disappointed today. I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the reasons that I felt so compelled to write the book, because I struggled for a long time feeling that, people who write memoirs, this is some kind of self-aggrandizing exercise and me. So I resisted writing it for quite a while. And to tell you the truth, to be perfectly honest, the first draft, there was quite a stench of ego, and it took me some time to deodorize my own ego, my own story, the story of me, out of it, because the real reason I wrote the book, especially this one, was to honor my teacher Hariharananda, who was the last living disciple of Sri Yukteswar behind me, who was Yogananda's guru. Most people are familiar with Autobiography of a Yogi, but Kriya Yoga unfortunately has become watered down and has spread all over the world now, but in a very watered down way. And so I wrote the book to, in a sense, re-inspire people to Kriya Yoga, but also to show that Kriya Yoga is the essence of psychophysiological transformation that goes on in human beings. So it is not a religion that needs to be joined. It really is a technique. And I compared it to alchemy because this is what I discovered over time. Now, we would have to go all the way back to shamanism. Yoga comes from shamanism as well. In fact, yoga means to yoke, to merge with consciousness, to merge with the consciousness of a deity, to merge with the consciousness of the Godhead, to merge with the consciousness of spirits. So in every sense, we're constantly transcending, re-identifying with a higher order constantly. But what happens is there is a physiological change that happens inside the body. And this is very well described in alchemy, Chinese alchemy, Indian alchemy, Egyptian alchemy, Greek alchemy, and even the Western alchemy. But it's so coded, and it's become so mixed up with metallurgy and chemistry and spagyrics or medicinal chemistry that people have lost because they've lost the plot of spiritual alchemy. They don't know that the crucible is the physical human body. The hermetically sealed container is the thalamus in the brain. Now in India and China, they kept this practice going, but in Europe, it seems to have been lost. Maybe there are a few Rosicrucians that still have this information. Maybe Freemasons still have some of it. Maybe they want to keep it back because if you have this power to know that this is a matrix, then you can control the matrix. And so constantly there's this information is lost and reborn again and comes out in the Himalayan tradition. Babaji brought this back about 150 years ago, gave it to Lahiri Mahasaya. Lahiri Mahasaya trained Sri Yukteswar, who's here behind me. Sri Yukteswar trained Yogananda and Hariharananda. But again, we have splintered organizations. Everybody's claiming that they were trained by Babaji or Lahiri or someone else. I don't know. I cannot vouch for everyone. The teachers who came out of Karar Ashram, which was Sri Yukteswar's original ashram in Puri in Orissa in India, if they can give light, sound, and vibration through their touch, then they have the direct Diksha Shaktipat connection to the lineage. If they're only teaching the technique, I don't know what to say. I don't know everybody's story. I can only tell my own.
Yeah. Well, look, Kevin, I must be honest. Sorry. Well, when I was going through that whole phase to try and find, and very little is found actually. If you try and Google it, it doesn't really tell you much. I went into YouTube. I was having a look to see, what techniques. No one gave the techniques, which you're right. So no one gave techniques. There were one or two guys that tried, but it was so different. One was saying breathe like this. One was saying breathe like that. One was saying do through the nose. This one's saying don't do through the nose. I was eventually like, it's like trying to.
I know it's
like ridiculous.
It's crazy making.
Yeah. So in your foundation for shamanic studies, the where you had, do you guys teach that stuff?
No, I don't teach Kriya Yoga. No, but I can recommend Kriya.org.
Okay.
That is the largest organization that came out of Karar Ashram originally. There's also Don Abrams in New York, and there's Peter van Breukelen in Holland.
Okay.
They can give you the direct initiation.
Okay. So at Kriya.org.
Kriya.org. Don Abrams, New York, or Peter van Breukelen in Holland.
Don, you were with Don in your book.
Yes. Well, I knew all of them.
Okay. But do you need? Sorry, Kevin, to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
But do you need a guru to? I mean, you can't just sit at home and practice Kriya Yoga. Would you have someone to, as you said, like give you a Shaktipat or like initiation or something like that?
Normally in Kriya Yoga, yes, you need to at least receive the first initiation hands-on. That's how I understand it. That it's not inconceivable to receive an initiation at a spiritual level. I would say that many persons do. However, I can only tell my story. I would say the process for me probably started several lifetimes ago. And so this is a reconnection, a recircling, a cycling back to pick up where I left off. And this is happening for all of us, whether we realize it or not. We're all pulled, we're drawn along this mysterious, meandering, winding path of our lives, and we wonder, why is this happening? Why am I meeting these people? Why am I reading these books or talking to these persons? It's all connected. There is a reason. We are drawn along this. But until we can de-identify with being our middle world personalities enough to see the trajectory of our souls, we don't know. It's all confusing. And I would almost recommend to everyone to write a memoir, even if it's only for yourself, because it's only through hindsight that you can see the processes that you've been pulled along and pulled through. I think it's a great process of remembering, even going back to childhood and trying to remember the first time you thought about, gosh, what happens when you die? Where did I come from before I was born? Most children have these thoughts at least once or twice in their life, but suddenly we're told, well, get to school, do your homework, etc., etc., and we are enamored with the tinsel of the world. And by the time the hormones come in, and the testosterone and the estrogen, then suddenly we're off on another story of our monkey bodies. And then we're into the making money, and suddenly we wake up and we have a white beard. We're going, what the hell was this all about?
Yeah.
So
but Kevin, I must say, synchronicities I notice very, very often.
Good.
That's going back some years back. I started noticing those type of things where a kind of path is leading you to do certain things. But I also find sometimes when I start doing something, there's obstacles that come in the way, like purposefully. It's almost like somebody's put obstacles in the way to prevent me from doing whatever it is. And I've always been, until I started understanding a little bit more, I've always been, but what the hell? Because if I stop, my life actually becomes nice and comfy. But as soon as I go back on and I'm starting to do something, things become difficult. Things have, it's at work it becomes difficult. Relationships become difficult. I think, geez, what's going on? It's like I can live comfortably. Yeah, I can live comfortably. Or as soon as I start going down, it's just like one after the next thing. It's just bad all the time.
Well, I was lucky in a sense. I didn't grow up in a church atmosphere where I had Jesus shoved it down my throat or something like that. I grew up of course, the culture Christianity was prevalent, but I didn't grow up being programmed in a church. So when I look at Jesus's life, I really look at it through a different lens. I see Jesus as a shaman, as a yogi, as a lama, as a spiritual master. And so his life is such a classic life of challenges. I mean, here at 12 years old, he starts to remember. 12 years old, he disappears from the house, and his parents find that he's arguing with the rabbis about religious philosophy. Now, here's this 12-year-old. Why is this 12-year-old arguing with the rabbis? You're supposed to just accept and believe, right? And then he disappears. The next chapter, literally the next paragraph, he's 30. So between 12 and 30, we have no information at all, or maybe we do, but it's been taken out. And so I think that there was this beautiful development of his remembrance. Obviously, he was a very advanced soul, and of course I'm going by the assumption that he was a real historical person. I believe he probably was. There is evidence at least somebody with that name existed. There are many different accounts in different cultures. The story that came up around him, of course, is a very classic story. The die and be resurrected after 3 days. That goes back to Horus and Egypt and the classical shamanic death, dismemberment, and resurrection process, which is very alchemical in nature. But the challenges that he was constantly going through, and in the end, of course, here's a man who's preaching love, who's preaching God, who's doing healings, performing miracles, and he's murdered because he's too good. Now what kind of a challenge? Talk about having to let go of everything. I mean, you know, he in a sense he lost everything and yet gained everything.
Yeah.
And the beautiful, you know, temptation, you know, where the devil says, you can have all of this, you know, I can give you the whole world.
Yeah.
And he says, no, thanks. And, you know, it's, again, if you're familiar with the Matrix film, I mean, it kind of goes back to Agent Smith offering, you can have whatever you want if you just go back to sleep.
Yeah,
well, we're constantly challenged.
Our father Damon, we have a guy quite often on this podcast, this Catholic priest. He says, no, the Matrix wasn't a movie, it was a documentary.
Yes, very Gnostic, actually.
And yeah, and also I thought Jesus was a yogi. When I read that the Yogananda book, the life of the autobiography of a yogi, I immediately thought, oh, Jesus must have been a yogi. That's what set me off on the whole thing about trying to find out if he went to Tibet and all of that stuff. Yes. So I believe he was definitely a yogi.
But there's a lot of hidden meaning as well, with regards to Jesus' story, because he died at the age of 33, which it's the same amount of spinal vertebrae. Yeah. It's the constant temptation from the devil, which we all have. So there's a very likeness to the Jesus story, exactly as you said, Kevin. There's a very likeness to the normal human being, is what we go through.
Yes.
So there's a lot of hidden stuff there as well, which is actually pretty cool.
But Kevin, I wanted to ask you the difference. What is the difference between a Kundalini activation and the deeper chemical transformations you experienced in the higher Kriyas?
Okay, how can I do that in a nutshell? All right. Kundalini is the secret fire. Kundalini is the evolutionary force that pushes us forward. But it also changes the physical body. Now, the people sometimes say, oh, the Chinese alchemists, they're just obsessed with trying to live forever. You know, this immortality idea. It's not so much trying to live forever in a physical body, but it's rather trying to bring the physical body to such a degree of health that you can complete the psychophysiological alchemical process in a single lifetime. Most people don't. They don't live long enough. I mean, Yogananda talked about Kriya Yoga is speeding up the normal evolution of the soul. So every time the Earth goes around the sun, there's 1 year. Well, we have one evolution around the spinal circuitry. And so we evolve spiritually just by being alive for 1 year. But with Kriya Yoga, as well as the Taoist practices, as well as Indian practices, we can speed that up, and you can evolve one entire spiritual year with one revolution up the spine, through the brain, and back down. Now that's first Kriya. Many people have heard of the microcosmic orbit. It's popularized by Mantak Chia. Well, that's a very old practice, has been around forever. And we can affect 1 year of spiritual evolution with one journey, which can take just a minute to do. So if it takes 1 million years for us to evolve to where we are naturally in a place of God consciousness, then we need to revolve this 1 million times to reach that level. Now you can do that in 8 hours a day of Kriya. In 3 years you could achieve permanent cosmic consciousness, nirvana, nirvikalpi samadhi, breathless, pulseless state. So you really have transcended the matrix. You are both in it and out of it at the same time. At that point, physical manifestation, you can dematerialize your body or rematerialize it in another place in the matrix. This is all a dream. Once we awaken to that we are all in God's dream, then miracles are just commonplace and normal, and nothing special, nothing to get any ego inflation about. So in any spiritual path, the masters are always saying, don't meditate to get powers. That's sidetrack. That's only a byproduct. Once you realize this is a dream, the miracles will just start happening around you. It'll become so commonplace, you just start to yawn about it. It's no big deal at all.
Okay. So that's like almost like going back to, a realization of the days. I don't know if your thoughts on Atlantis, how they are, but It's almost going back to that time when the people had
yes,
the
that's what I wanted to say, Lee. Sorry, because of the Yuga cycles are a thing.
Yes.
And we're going through the Kali Yuga right now. And in the Sati Yuga, everybody has this God realization, apparently. I mean, just reading what little I know about
Satya Yuga, we are all in God consciousness. But the fellow behind me here, Sri Yukteswar, his calculations are that the Kali Yuga ended in 1899. Now, very interesting, Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian mystic, he also said that the Rosicrucians felt, independently of India, that the Kali Yuga ended in 1899. Now, still we had 2 world wars after that, and we still have a lot of problems and conflicts. But look at the mass awakening that's happening. So we're on the rise. We're moving out of the Kali Yuga. So I'm optimistic, despite the fact that it looks like the world's going to hell in a handbasket. I am optimistic in the long run.
Yeah.
A century or two from now, I think we're going to have mass awakenings.
But the thing is, what I was trying to say is that we all trying to get this God, or I mean, like, I won't say all, but it seems like maybe it's a small percentage of us. But the people that are, we trying so hell bent on. I mean, I'm talking about myself, to get this realization, this God realization, and get off the reincarnation trap. But I'm just thinking, but if we're going to go through the Sati Yuga anyway, then why all of this?
It just depends on whether you're patient or not. If you want to hang around here for
another 25,000 years,
if you want to go through middle school another 1,000 times, you're welcome to it. I'm not sure that I want to go through middle school another 1,000 times. So it just depends. I mean, Yogananda talked about the eagle hearts. I mean, if you want to be a slow, plodding donkey chewing the cud for 1,000,000 years before you naturally evolve the brain to God consciousness, you are perfectly welcome to do that. And most people do choose that path.
but oh, sorry, there's the other thing I was trying to get to, was that, but then if we get to the Sati Yuga, then we all become enlightened, then we all off the wheel, right? I mean, then how do we all reincarnate back into, when we're going back into the Dwapara and the Theta Yugas? I mean, is it new souls that come in, or is it?
Well, again, it comes back to who do we think we are? I mean, if we take the unitary, the one consciousness breathes into matter consciousness, and the matter becomes self-aware and says, I am. And that doll of soil says, I am. And eventually that doll of soil says, well, if I am, who's breathing through me? I mean, where does this breath come from? Where did I come from? Who am I really? And there's the drawback. So there's this breathing from the universal consciousness into matter, coming back out of matter, into matter, coming back out of matter. So that the spiritual process is simply remembering who we are. So extracting consciousness from our obsession, from our condensation around the material. So freeing the consciousness from matter. It doesn't end, but even better, the most advanced stage is to not only get free of matter, but get off of the wheel of incarnation or addiction to human incarnation, but to actually be able to be fully conscious, fully aware, and spiritualize the material world. That's rubedo in alchemy. That's the red level, which very, very few ever achieve. The Mahasiddhas, like Yogananda or Hariharananda or Jesus or some of the other great masters, they not only got off the wheel of birth and death, but they came back out of their compassion. They came back into the matrix and spiritualized things. And look what they left us. Look what Yogananda left us with Autobiography of a Yogi. And the whole drama that Jesus went through, and the whole history, and the story. That's the sacrifice of the shaman. You sacrifice your personal life to serve the larger community. That's love. And when you know what love is, then you know there is no other. We're all in this. I mean, Jesus could have escaped. I mean, he could have escaped the Romans. He was clairvoyant. He had these superpowers. He can walk on water. He could have slipped the Romans easily. He could have been sipping wine in Provence with his wife. You know, maybe he did. You know, we don't know. But he gave up his personal life to serve the community. That's a classic shamanic path. But most shamans don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. We are dragged, kicking and screaming. But at some point, we are the moth to the flame. We're drawn back home. Sorry, I've gone on many tangents here.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm trying to think us back to the original question. What is the difference between Kriya Yoga and alchemy? Was that...
Okay, there is no difference. Kriya Yoga is alchemy, is a spiritual alchemy. So Kriya Yoga is the technology, and there's 6 initiations in Sri Yukteswar school. Yogananda reduced it to 4. But ultimately, we are the crucible. We are the retort. We are the flask. It is our cerebrospinal system that is the true alchemy. So when they say, I mean, I've had this discussion with alchemy scholars, which and bless them, they're very knowledgeable and they've really studied the books, but they're not initiated, so they simply don't know what is happening with the glands in the center of the brain and the thalamus, the cerebrospinal fluid. They in alchemy it'll talk about boil the fire or boil the water in fire for a year. Now, so you've got these puffers who are trying to make gold out of lead, and they've got all this stuff, and they're poisoning themselves with mercury, and of course metallurgy, came out of this, chemistry came out of this, some medicinal tinctures came out of this, material chemistry came out of this, but the spiritual alchemy is all internal. We are the flask, we are the process, so we can speed up this evolution. So we can bring Satya Yuga, in a sense, for yourself now. But it's a lonely path. It's a very lonely path. I mean, when you wake up in the middle of samsara and everybody else is asleep, you got to really be able to go it alone. And most people, they prefer to take the blue pill and go back to sleep because it's too lonely to take the red pill.
What's too difficult? Never mind, they're lonely, but it gets so difficult that the guys are just like, ugh.
Well, it goes all the way to the end until you got spikes in your hand. You got to give it all up. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Neo, free your mind.
Yeah, no, 100%. No,
nobody gets out of here alive.
No, I love that saying. That's one of the best sayings that I like. So now you writing another book, because obviously that the first one there that you did was all about your trip to Asia and kind of the middle, the Eastern philosophy.
Yes, that was part 1 of this magnum opus.
Yeah, so
I'm working on part 2
is going
now.
to be. I'm assuming it's going to be more now the Western side of stuff.
This is part 1.
Yeah.
Part 2 is mostly is shamanism mostly, because at the end of the book, I'm on the way to meet Dr. Michael Harner. Not South America, but to Michael Harner.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know you started hinting at South America, where there was the jungles and the leopards.
Oh yes, with the Mayans. Yes,
so
not South America, but Central America.
Yes, sorry, not South. Yeah, Central America. So that was.
Yes, there will be some chapters on the Mayans in the upcoming book.
Yeah.
So the Mayans had a lot of knowledge. They had a very powerful shamanism. They had an amazing shamanic culture.
Yeah.
And it's in the astral realm, at a particular dimension, it is still living and can be contacted. But I don't want to get ahead of myself and talk about unpublished material at this point.
So what I wanted to ask, sorry, I'm just going back to our questions here.
Of course.
So in your travels through Tibet, Taoist and Kriya Yoga traditions, what was the single most transformative teaching or practice you encountered among them?
Kriya Yoga.
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, Kriya Yoga is the distillation of these yogic practices. And that's what I was trying to show through the 6 chapters on Tibetan Buddhism. That at essence, Tibetan Buddhism is not only shamanic in origin, but that, the Dalai Lama himself has a secret temple called the Lukang, which has all these diagrams, which no one was allowed to go in except High Lamas and the Dalai Lama to see these. And it's basically Kriya Yoga exercises. And Shamarpa himself told me, when the 2 glands are married at the center of the brain, you are enlightened. That's advanced Kriya Yoga. So, people love to get very ethnocentric about, we Tibetans have got all the answers, or we Hindus have got all the answers, or we Chinese alchemists have got all the answers. This is middle world confusion. This is just samsara. We are all human beings. We all have blood, we all have bones, we have chromosomes, we have our DNA. This psycho-spiritual process, the physiological process to move into a level where we can contain cosmic consciousness while still in a monkey body, that is the same. So the saints and sages, they might look normal. Obi-Wan Kenobi wanders through the market. You might not even notice him. He's just an old man in a robe goes by. Well, who was he? What was that? Looks like a normal human being, but he's not. He's able to contain power. When I say power, I'm talking about spiritual vitality, the force. He's able to merge with the level of the force, to be able to contain the force, to be able to use it for healing or divination, to help, or even to guide societies. So there were the Jedi Knights, this is not really fantasy. This is, the Jedi Knights have been around for thousands of years, but they are very quiet. They're very low key. They don't show off. The Sufis have a very strict rule. For example, don't show off. You start walking across swimming pools, you start doing mass healings, you start changing water to wine, and guess what happens? The Romans show up and do you in. If the Romans don't do it, then the Pharisees will. So, that's another reason why Jesus is just such a great lesson in being a little more low key. Jesus could have gone on and taught, for a long time. Buddha taught for 40 years after his enlightenment, but he was in India. In India, they appreciate their saints. We in the West, we murdered them immediately,
Yeah, or kick them off Twitter now, or take them off YouTube now.
So kind of, you hinted on something there a little bit, Kevin. I'm going to use a bit of a biblical phrase here, or biblical story, the Tower of Babel. Everybody knows the story. But the exactly as you're saying, so the hidden meaning there, when the guys were building the tower, they weren't building a tower. It's an assumption to try and reach God. So they were trying to build something to reach God. So it's like how you, with Kriya Yoga, you build to reach the God consciousness. But something came down and split the people, so that they didn't understand. So the confusion came about.
Right.
So that's exactly how everybody's confused, because everybody has their own ways or their own versions of getting to God, and doesn't want to share it because it's only for these guys and for those guys. Yet, as you said, we're all human. We all share the same experience. We all share the same types of feelings. We're all the same. We just look a little bit different. That's it. So yeah, I like that analogy that you had there.
Well, it brings up a huge topic, and that is the kings of the world, the Archons.
Let's not get going there.
The forces that want to hold human consciousness to Earth. We don't have to go into fear about it, but there do appear to be forces that want to hold human consciousness to Earth. And so it's something that you become aware of at a certain point, but we don't want to go into fear about it. It exists. It gives us challenges. It seems to be part of this whole samsaric system. I guess you could almost say it makes it more of an adventure. But I mean, this has been going on forever. I mean, the Merovingians in the Matrix film are a perfect example. The Merovingians know very well that it's a matrix. They have the keys to the matrix, but they enjoy being in the matrix and enjoying the power of remaining here. These are the symbols of the Archons, the kings of the world. So every time that we are offered success, we are offered riches, we are offered pleasures, we say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to give up the spiritual path for a while and just enjoy myself. And once you get used to that, once you get accustomed to drinking $1,000 bottles of cognac, you don't want to go back to the cheap stuff anymore. So you don't want anybody else to threaten your position. So there we have, you know, some of the, not only the physical and monetary financial situation in the world, but also spiritual system in the world. So there are spiritual forces that want to prevent people from awakening.
Now, talk about synchronicities exactly now. So it's funny that you said that, because for the past few months, something popped up onto my YouTube feed, and it was all about the Archons. And I was like, who the hell is it? And then I started reading and doing some research on all the Archons, and I realized, oh, hold on, this is a lot more in depth, and there's a lot more going on than I realized. But there was something that was mentioned about the Archons, and it's so weird that you've actually mentioned them. And I spoke to William because we want to actually do a podcast about this and speak to someone that may understand this a little bit better. But the trap, the light trap, when you die, apparently they're in control of that light, and it's that they lead you into this light to bring you back onto the wheel of rebirth. And they keep you there constantly. So I don't know, is in your opinion, I don't know if you know much about it, but do you think that this is true?
Well, the Tibetans would call this the lesser light.
Yeah.
They say avoid the lesser light, go to the greater luminosity.
Okay.
So people who have near-death experiences usually are going toward the greater luminosity, and they'll talk about it as the brilliance of 1,000 suns, but it somehow doesn't burn your eyes. Okay. That is the greater luminosity, and we want to realize our identity. We are that greater luminosity. But on the way to that, there are what's called the lesser lights, and they are tempting or pulling us off to other things. So, I mean, Blavatsky talked about the eighth sphere, and this is where some of these, what Michael Harner calls middle world beings, exist. And these middle world beings, they're in the samsaric system, and they don't want to transcend. They don't want God consciousness. They enjoy playing in their little kingdom here in the middle world. And so, you know, once people have power corrupts, and they want to remain in that state. And so their compassion ends. They come into a contracted state of consciousness. They're unable to feel empathy. So in that case, they no longer have compassion for others. So then other people just become something they want to use to get their ends, what they want. So this has been going on for a very long time. There are some beings in this eighth sphere, kind of off to the side, who have been here in the middle world for thousands of years, maybe longer. They've built up a certain amount of power. But the good news is they are always limited. They're always limited to the matrix. They're limited to samsara. But we can journey to the transcendent realms at any time. This is why I teach shamanism. I do love Kriya Yoga. I appreciate Kriya Yoga. It is my personal practice. I do send people to other people for Kriya Yoga initiation. I train people in shamanism so that we can journey out of the matrix on a regular basis to remember who we are, and then we can be in the matrix but not of it. So once you journey out of the middle world often enough, your sense of identity changes. It's called the turning around in the seat of consciousness. So it's no longer that, you know, I'm a person who's journeying out of here, but rather remembering that I'm a person who's never been actually part of the matrix, but I came here voluntarily for whatever purposes, compassionate purposes, or perhaps just to have a human holiday. to have the experience of the material realm, to be tested. Because we get experiences here that we can't get anywhere else. And because it is so tough, and it is painful, and it is challenging, and there's so much emotionality that's positive and negative, we can only experience that by coming here into form. So it's a great school. I'm not dissing it. You know, the Gnostics and to some degree the Buddhists are all like, oh, this is all suffering, let's get out of here. But we are being alchemically processed by going through these incarnations.
But
so,
Kevin, like, I mean, I talk about this with Lee a lot, but I mean, maybe I'm just suffering from some kind of depression. But the thing is, like, I can't stand it, and I just want to get out of here. Like, I never want to come back ever again. But is that because I'm a new soul, or is that that I'm like, it's the first time I'm experiencing all of this hardship, and I'm like, Jesus, this is just too intense for me, and I want to get off? Or is it because it's like, or people that are like have a similar experience to me? Is it because that we've reincarnated a lot of times, and we notice that it's is a trap, and we want to get what? So which one is it?
Well, okay. My suggestion is learn shamanic journeying. For 15 minutes, for 30 minutes, you can get out of the matrix, you can start to remember the bigger picture, and then when you come back into it, you don't have to take the middle world so seriously. You don't have to take the matrix, samsara, so seriously. And then you realize this is a temporary game, but I'm going to do the best while I'm in it. But if you don't have that reprieve from the middle world, that reprieve from samsara, by getting out, by doing a shamanic journeying to a transcendent realm on a regular basis, it only takes a drum beat and some training. Just the drum beat alone won't do it. It requires some training. So come to Thailand next week. I'm sorry, not next week. Next month, come to Thailand, learn shamanic journeying, and then you don't have to take it so seriously. But I forget too. You know, I mean, I sometimes get wrapped up. Somebody gives me a shove, and I have to pay taxes, and there's mosquitoes, and the bus is late. And I get a little frustrated, and I start getting upset, and then I wait a minute. You know, I'm in a samsaric dream. It's okay. You know, it's temporary.
You don't teach this stuff online, do you, Kevin? So, like, if they go to,
I have taught online. The Foundation for Shamanic Studies does teach online. So yes, I know South Africa is rather far.
Yeah.
So I do it all in person now because I think it's more powerful. But you can go to shamanism.org. There's also, if you're more interested in your own time zone, you can go to the FSS Europa. FSS Europa is directly north of you. We'll be on the same time zone, or at least pretty close, and they offer some online courses. Yeah.
But otherwise, the guys can come to you.
Well, I don't know. I have never flown from Thailand to South Africa, so you'll have to figure that out on your own. But my website, shamanism-asia.com, gives the details, and you can contact me there for those details. So I'm teaching in Bali, Indonesia in April, and then I'm going to take a 5-month break because I'm teaching a lot of advanced courses. We have a 3-year program, which is not 3 years long. It's actually 6 weeks, but it's spread out over 3 years, and that's where we go into advanced shamanic initiations.
Okay. I might actually be in Bali. I think I'm going to Bali next year. My sister-in-law was invited us, but I'm not sure which month. But I'll definitely check. If you say you're there in April.
April, yep, for a course. But after the courses in May, June, and July are all advanced courses, so you wouldn't be able to get into those.
Okay. Right. Okay. No,
Geez, so Kevin, I mean, like, I've only asked you 2 of these questions on this list, but that's
why we said our interviews are very different. We don't like we have conversations, we get into the deep discussions, and people enjoy that because it's not like a structured thing. You're almost having like coffee, like I am now, and discussing the stuff of life, which is important. That's how we do it.
Sure. Next question.
Okay. I know. Sorry, I'm also just worried about time now because I see it's 555 here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a synchronicity or not, but
I'm free, so it doesn't matter. You can edit this down as much as you wish.
Okay, but I have to actually
Yeah, you got a
Oh,
full
you
said.
have to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to get to. I got home at like 11 o'clock last night from my shoot, and now I've got to go again
This morning.
this morning to go off shoot again. But
Yeah, it was awesome
Yeah.
talking to you, Kevin. So
Hang in there.
Yeah. Can't
Yeah.
wait for your next book. Can't wait for your next one.
yes, I'm
Thank-
also that Mongolian shaman.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
just one last question, just quickly before you go. I mean, it's not on this list now, but I mean, is that we? Oh yeah, there. Look at them there. That's amazing. I can't wait to read that
And-
shaman one. But
French
We-
translation,
oh wow, look at that.
first prize in Paris.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to. Yeah, we must get that book, Lee. Read it, and hopefully we have you back on, Kevin.
Well, that's the Sky
Alright.
Shamans one, so we can read that. But I'm looking forward to your second one, your next part of your book.
Yeah, that's going to be a while. That's the reason I'm taking a 5-month sabbatical next year from August to December to finish Secret Fire.
Part two.
Nice.
The
Nice,
Empire
okay.
Strikes Back.
Not too soon. Yeah.
Oh, great, Kevin.
So great to talk with you, Will and Lee.
Thank you. very
Yeah,
much. Appreciate it.
likewise. Really an honor. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Kevin.
All right.
I really appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Kevin. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers, man.
Very cool, bud.
Yeah, that was great, man.
But it's
It's
funny. It's
pretty-
funny how the synchronicities work, dude. Because it's we're interviewing people, and we almost like the Archon thing. Fuck, dude. It's every discussion I'm having with people, it's coming up. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing.
I know, and also he mentioned what Rudolf Steiner always says that or talked about was I think it was the Ahrimanic Forces. I wanted to get into that as well, but I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
we
also
can bring
so
him on again.
tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired, hey, Lee. This is like I mean, I've had like 4 hours sleep because of work, and now
Yeah.
I've got to rush off now.
Let me
So
do
I
a
don't know,
quick.
I also just didn't even feel like I was in the right headspace.
No,
but
that's
anyway,
fine. That's fine. Let me say goodbye, guys. Thank you again for everybody. This is our second to last episode for the year. One more to go, and then we end of 2025. Really good to have you guys again. Always, as please go and support William on Elysius TV, on the documentaries we have on that side. And yeah, we'll chat to you guys next week. Thanks, everybody.
yeah, ElysusTV.com.
ElysusTV.com.
Elysus.
Yeah.
ELEIUS. Is that how I spell it? I don't even know how
Yeah,
to spell it.
yeah.
.com.
Cool.